In the cold mist-covered hills of Scotland, there stands the ruin of a long-forgotten church, Melrose Abbey. In the 1700s, a young priest named Father Edward was sent there by the church. His mission: to cleanse the place, restore the order, and put to rest the whispers that something still moved within its ancient halls. But from the moment he arrived, the abbey seemed to resist him. At night, he heard footsteps echo through the stone corridors. Heavy, deliberate. Though he was the only one there. He discovered old texts locked in the sacristy, parchment pages written in Latin. But the ink wasn't ink. It was thick, dark, and unmistakably blood. Fresh. One evening he stumbled upon a sealed wall in the crypt. Behind it, a hidden chamber. There stood a crude wooden altar covered in strange symbols, and slumped beside it, the skeletal remains of a monk in rotted robes. A parchment had been nailed to the skull. It read, "Do not pray. Cursed is the one who disturbs us." But Father Edward, desperate to purify the grounds, read the Latin aloud. He believed it was a prayer of cleansing. The moment he finished, the walls groaned, the floor shook. And from deep below the abbey, something screamed. Not a man, not a beast, something ancient, something that had been locked away for centuries. They found him the next morning, curled in the chancel. He was still alive, but his hair had turned white, his eyes gouged out, and his mouth sewn shut with thick black thread. On the wall behind him, scrawled in blood, "You set us free." Melrose Abbey was never reopened. To this day, the villagers avoid it, because every third night, when the moon hangs low and silent, the wind carries voices from the ruins, chanting. Monks, they say, but their hymns don't offer salvation. Deep in the misty hills of Guangdong, nestled in the shadows of XIANGSHAN Mountain, there once stood a forgotten temple. The locals spoke of a monk who lived there alone, a holy man, a recluse, a man of rice and water, nothing more. He was quiet, kind. He never came down from the mountain. But people began to vanish. A boy collecting herbs, a merchant passing through, a widow who wandered too far while foraging. Each time, the trail ended near the base of XIANGSHAN. A small search party climbed the path toward the temple, 5 men, all armed, all faithful. What they found wasn't faith. The temple was still, dustless. The air was warm and sweet, like meat left out too long. Bowls sat neatly on the altar, and not for incense, but for blood, still warm. In the farthest corner knelt the monk, silent, still, dressed in his orange robes, his hands resting gently on his knees. They called to him. No response. They stepped closer. Slowly eyed, he turned his head. His eyes were rolled back. No pupils, just milky white. His nails had grown long, thick, and dark, and yet he smiled. He spoke softly. "I ate only what was offered." They came willingly. Then the floor began to hum. Beneath their feet, voices, dozens, whispering, moaning, chanting. The men ran, only 2 made it down the mountain. By morning, the temple had vanished. No stone, no ash, no trace. But even now, those who wander too close to XIANGSHAN's summit say they hear it. A low, steady chant. A bowl resting on an unseen altar. And a voice, hoarse and hungry, whispering from the trees. "Bring more." In the quiet heart of old Kyoto, there stood a small incense shop. Tucked between wooden homes and narrow lantern-lit alleys, it sold fragrant sticks to temples and nobles alike. But behind the aroma of sandalwood and jasmine, there was something else, something wrong. The owners, a husband and wife, began to notice that their incense sticks would vanish overnight. Only certain ones, old ones, a blend no longer made. At first they blamed rats, then thieves. So one night, they stayed behind. Midnight came. The shop was silent. The coals in the brazier had gone cold. Then, the front door locked itself. A lamp ignited on its own, and from beneath the floorboards came voices, whispers. Not Japanese. Not any language they knew. The smell of incense filled the room, overpowering. It was the blend they hadn't touched in decades. And through the haze, shadowy shapes began to rise. Thin, elongated, like paper cutouts. But moving, breathing. One leaned close to the wife's ear and whispered, "You forgot us. We remember the scent. We remember burning." The husband ran for the door. It would not open. Behind him the shadows pressed in, not touching, but surrounding. Their mouths moved, but the whispers now came from inside his head. Then silence. At dawn, the incense shop was found burned to the ground. No bodies, no ashes, nothing. Just one stick of incense, literature still smoldering in the ash. The same forgotten blend, the same ancient scent. To this day, those who pass that alley late at night say they smell it. And if they stop to breathe it in, they hear a voice, "Software close, light one more." In the old city of Edo, nestled between puppet shops and tea houses, there was a narrow street called Ningyo Alley. By day, laughter, music, the scent of sweet rice and cedar wood. But at night, it was silent. Not empty, never empty, just avoided. At the very end of the alley stood a house, small, crumbling, windows sealed tight with paper and string. No one lived there, not for many years. Once it belonged to a doll maker, a woman known for crafting dolls so lifelike. They breathed. Her secret, no one knew. But she died suddenly, alone. Some said she went mad. Others claimed she spoke to her dolls. And they answered. After her death, the house sat abandoned. Yet neighbors began to notice something. At night, a red lantern flickered in the window. Just one. Always red. It moved like someone was holding it. And when people walked by, they heard whispers, like silk dragging on wood, or tiny feet across the floor. A monk passing through Edo heard the tale and offered to bless the house. He entered before sunset. Alone. He never came out. 3 days later, when authorities broke in, the house was quiet. But in the center of the room sat a new doll, kneeling, draped in orange cloth. Its face was his. The mouth had been sewn shut, the eyes made of glass. In its chest burned a tiny red lantern, no flame, just glowing. The house was sealed, boarded, buried under salt. But the lantern still appears, floating, watching. And if you stare too long, you might hear her voice, software behind you, whispering, "I made you beautiful." In the cold, misty mountains of northern Japan, there was a monastery, silent, hidden, forgotten. Inside, monks practiced the darkest path of devotion. It was called Sokushinbutsu, self-mummification. They believed that, through ultimate sacrifice, they could become living Buddhas. But the process was horrific. For 1,000 days, the monk would eat nothing but bark, roots, stones, then drink a tea brewed from the sap of the urushi tree, a deadly poison. It destroyed his body from the inside, killing all bacteria, all parasites. Then came the final step. He was sealed, alive, in a stone tomb, a single bamboo tube for air. Each day he would ring a bell, just once, to let the others know, I am still here. One day and the bell stopped. 1,000 days later. They opened the tomb, and what they found was not salvation. The monk's body was upright, his eyes open, his skin blackened and tight. But his hands were chewed, his fingers gnawed to the bone, bite marks on his arms, his lips torn. He had eaten himself, piece by piece. In the final days, some say it was madness. Others say something else was in the tomb. Now, travelers claim they still hear the bell at night, distant, echoing, and a soft voice in the trees whispering, I'm still here.